Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Ice Cold Takes podcast. I'm your host, Joey DiMaglio. New York Rangers completed the sweep of the Washington Capitals in round one and now have a second round rematch from 2 seasons ago with the Carolina Hurricanes. Today, I'll break down that first round series before taking a look at the second round matchup with the Hurricanes. Let's get into it. No guests this week. We're still trying for Brian Boyle. We're still trying for Rick DiPietro. We'll get him eventually. But for now, we'll just go solo here today. So in round one, the Rangers finally got a series done in less than 6 or 7 games. It's been years since they've been able to do that. I think the last time they were able to do it before 6 games was 2015, the first round against the Penguins. That was a 5 game series, and even then, that series took 2 overtime games. And this was the first sweep since 2007 or 2008. One of those years that it was against the Thrashers. That was the last time the Rangers swept anybody in the playoffs. So, um, you could look at it and think of this as, the Rangers dominated this series, but it wasn't like the Rangers were playing their best. I know I saw some people say like, "Oh, the Rangers need to play better. Oh, they weren't good enough this series. Like, what are we doing here?" But it's a sweep. You win in 4 games. You don't go to overtime in any of them. You only trail for 3 minutes and 21 seconds out of 240 possible minutes. That is just incredible, man. Like, I mean, no matter what happened within the game, like that was just you got the job done. That's how you look at it. Matt says, "Joe, you got any more accurate predictions?" Yeah, I don't have anything for right now, but I'll get into that big prediction I made a little later on. Give me a little bit here. So, the Rangers defensively were great. They held Ovechkin to 0 shots or 0 points. Hang on a second. My audio is really echoing. What is going on here? Hold up a second. Yeah, I don't know what is going on with this echo cancellation. No idea what's going on. I'm turning that off. Okay, I think I sound all right. They've played well. Matt says they've played well this series, but they will have to elevate their performance as they go into the series against the Hurricanes. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, the Hurricanes is going to be a really good series. I'm expecting that to go 6 or 7 games. I mean, if you want to take that as a prediction, go ahead. I know Colin roasted me for my um, subpar ice cold take last week, but again, I'll get into that later. But like I said, Ovechkin was a complete non-factor in the Washington series. I did not expect that to happen. I thought he would at least show up on the score sheet at some point. I was waiting for it to happen. But by the fourth game, I think Spencer Carberry was benching him. He really didn't give him that many shifts. The ice time was down to like 15 minutes. He was playing his young guys like LaPierre. He was playing Strom, like those guys that came from the minors. Protus. There's some other guys that I'm forgetting the names of, but they were playing really really hard, down to the last minute, to the very end. Like they they're trying to prove that they belong in the NHL. So, I mean, good on those young guys for the Capitals. It looks like they have a okay future. Maybe got to get a few more prospects here, rebuild the pipeline. But their AHL team is always good, and they had a lot of those guys that were on that Calder Cup winning team that were playing in the NHL. So they look pretty good. But I mean, you really can't compare AHL competition to NHL competition, especially when the Rangers do it every day, like every day for practice. Everything is a competition. So they're in that mindset where everything you want to be the best, you want to come out on top and everything, and the Rangers were able to do that in all 4 games. Maybe they weren't playing their best, but it was still good enough to win the games. But that is not going to fly in that Carolina series. Zibanejad, Trocheck, and Artemi Panarin. I thought they all three of those guys looked great in the series. Panarin, it's a great sign that he scored a couple goals. He looked comfortable with the puck. He didn't look like he had no space out there. He was making moves. He looked very comfortable out there, which is a good sign. I know he didn't have that many points, but this is a good side heading into that Carolina series. He's gonna need as much confidence as possible because um Carolina is they're gonna need him. I think Corey Snyder, I was reading something. He said that out of both teams, Panarin is the best player, best forward between the Rangers and the Hurricanes. So the Rangers are gonna need him to be at his best. Zibanejad and Trocheck need to keep playing the way they've been playing. Zibanejad for sure. Like this, I criticized him so much this season. The way he played in that Washington series, that's the first line center the Rangers need. That's the first line center that, we've come to know and love of Mika Zibanejad. If he starts scoring some more goals, look out. Look out. Um, Again, Lafreniere has looked great in that series. Again, like from last season when he had no points and was like pretty much invisible, like a non-factor in the series against the Devils, and then he had to work on his game in the offseason. He was noticeable. He was very effective on the forecheck. He was great on the power play. The Rangers are going to need to keep that going into this series against the Hurricanes. Another thing that I want to point out, the Rangers did a nice job not feeding into Tom Wilson's like antics. Like game 3 was the game that Washington needed to win to get back in the series because you're not in trouble unless you lose on home ice. And that, for me, game 3 was the turning point of the series. Even though the Rangers won the first two and had all the momentum, I thought the Rangers needed to have a good performance in game 3, and they did. I really liked the start of game 3. I thought, they came out firing. They were getting chances at even strength. They let up a soft goal. Shesterkin wasn't sharp early on. With that one goal he let up, I think that was Carlson who scored. It was kind of a floater from the blue line off the rush, and it was not a good goal to give up. But like 30 seconds later, the Rangers bounced back, got a nice even strength goal off a tip from Kreider, and then they were off from there. They got another shorthanded goal from Goodrow, and then that power play goal from Trocheck really sealed it. I thought the Rangers played great defensively in that game. They didn't give him too much. Shesterkin almost scored that empty net goal, which would have been crazy. I was screaming, and then Ovechkin just snatched it out of the air from center ice. Um, Matt says, I thought the Rangers sweeping while Panarin and Fox weren't playing at an elite level was a good sign. They were good in the first round, but we do need to see another level from them in this series. Yeah. Yeah, Fox for sure was definitely not at his best. Panarin, he's got room to go too. Like he looked comfortable. I'm just comparing it to how he looked last season in the playoffs. Like last season was like a shell of himself. Like that was like a complete non-factor. This, it looks like, okay, Artemi Panarin is here. He's here. Now we need to see Artemi Panarin at his finest, at the elite level that he was performing at in the regular season. That's what we're going to need from him in the playoffs in round 2 against Carolina. Back to Tom Wilson. He's going to try everything to get back into the series. He's going to try and crawl under your skin. He's like a bully. He's that type of player. He's a one of a kind guy. You hate playing against him, but you would love him if he's on your team. The Rangers stayed focused throughout. They really didn't feed into him at all. Rempe was very disciplined when it came to that stuff. I know he took some bad penalties, but like with the Wilson incident, like fighting and that, he stayed away from him. He didn't need to. The Rangers were winning the series. They were winning the games. They barely trailed in the series. So rightfully so, he stayed away from Wilson, and that was good on him. I don't know if Rempe's gonna stay in the lineup for the Carolina series. I would think Heedle would go in, but overall, I thought Rempe did a solid job there, staying disciplined against Wilson. And then that incident, even with what Wilson did to Fox, I don't know what that was in Game 4 after they scored the power play goal. Trocheck scored. Fox just got the knee-on-knee from Jensen, and then Fox must have said something to Wilson to get him to like push him and start that whole big altercation. But what I really loved, and this just shows how far the Rangers have come in the past few seasons, is as soon as Wilson like put his hands up before he even pushed Fox, like he had his hands up, all the guys that were celebrating the goal, Kreider, Trocheck, they went straight beeline to Wilson and into the Capitals. They wrapped them up. They were like, no. You're not doing this to Fox. You're not doing this to our best player. Get away from him. Like they had each other's backs, and you go back to when Wilson, ragdolled Panarin. There was not really any of that. there's life in this Rangers team, and you love to see that. I know it's the playoffs, and you really expect that, but it was just a nice feeling to see that the guys were right there for Fox, even though they're celebrating a goal. They're right there, and they're back into the action. You know what I mean? Like that was just fantastic to see. Um, Moving on to the defense, defensively, I thought the Rangers were fine. In my opinion, they were fine. The Caps really had a lot of possession time. If you go on natural stat trick, it looks like they had the higher quality chances, like they had more high danger chances. But I mean, Shesterkin wasn't otherworldly in this series. He didn't really need to stand on his head. He just needed to be there when they got a good chance, and Shesterkin was there. He played better than Charlie Lindgren did, and I thought the Rangers did a good job of forcing the Capitals to the outside. Like I said, a lot of offensive zone time, a lot of puck possession time. But I mean, if you're gonna have the puck and you just stay to the perimeter, I mean, be my guest. Like, unless you cut into the middle and get a slot chance, then like go ahead, dude. Take your time in the offensive zone. Spend 2 minutes there. But the Shesterkin is not really going to allow a low danger shot. I mean, he allowed that one, but is he going to make a habit of it? Probably not. So the Rangers were pretty solid in their own end. I thought Miller Schneider was fantastic pairing. Miller looks very very comfortable. If you just look at the communication between him and Schneider, compared to how he was with Truba, it's like night and day, man. Like it's just you cannot compare it. It's Miller is like in the right spot at all times. It doesn't look like he's out of position really. He looks very comfortable there. And Truba too, with that pairing with Gustafson. I know we called Gustafson out a couple weeks ago. Gustafson looks fine. Truba looks actually really solid on the third pair. He's making good passes. He's not fumbling the puck or turning it over as much as he was before when he was with that Miller pair. Um, so hopefully he could keep that going moving into the second round. Truba, apart from that bad turnover in Game 4, had a very good series. His defense was solid, and he moved the puck well. Yeah, like I said, I forget what turnover it was in Game 4, but yeah, for the most part, he was pretty solid back there. Um, the Rangers weren't, like I said, the Rangers weren't even at their best, but they still made it a relatively stress-free series against Washington. If you go back and look at all the playoff series that the Rangers have had, they always go 6 or 7 games, and the stress level for fans is so high. It's insane. Like even at the ends of these games, like I was still feeling like, oh my gosh, like they have the puck, they're cycling it. What if they get a good chance? You can't compare it to like Game 7 overtime or Game 7 against Carolina or Game 6 win and extend the series or go home against Tampa Bay. Or Game 7 last year against the Devils. You really can't compare that. Um, but I will say though, I was stressed based on my prediction, that big prediction I had in Game 4. Towards the end, I know Roslovic had the empty netter, but I was hoping that the game winner for Panarin would stand. They had a couple good chances in the last 30 seconds. I was freaking out. I'm like, please let this hit. Please let this hit. I didn't bet on it. I didn't put any money on it, and I'm really mad that I didn't because that was going to be like a big payout there. If you missed it, in case you missed it, on last Wednesday when I had Colin Stevenson on, Colin roasted me for my ice cold take. I said my first one was if the Rangers win Game 3, they're going to win Game 4. If they lose Game 3, it's going to be over in Game 5. And Colin was like, "Nah, that's not an ice cold take. That's weak." And then I thought of something a little bit further, and I'm like, "Okay, okay, I got it." After everything he's been through, after all the crap from Capitals fans, from the hit on Oshie to Wilson ragdolling him to the playoffs he had last season, the lackluster playoff run that he had last season, really 2 playoff runs with the Rangers. Artemi Panarin, if he scores the series winning goal, like that's going to be great. Like the Capitals fans will be mad. Like this will be a great narrative, a turning point here. So I felt very comfortable picking that. I'm like, all right, Panarin's going to turn some heads. He's going to get the series winning goal. I don't know what game it's going to be. But it's going to be him. He's going to have the game winning, series winning goal. It's not gonna be in overtime, but it's gonna be Panarin. And then I called. I said, all right, I'll pick it. I said game 4. And then to double up on that, I I really liked the play of Capo Caco in the series. The first game, I thought he was shooting at all angles. I thought he was trying to create offense. His line was doing really well. They weren't out there for a single goal against at even strength. Um, they had one goal, I think, and that was Caco's goal, just to open up game 4. But I just really liked the way Caco was playing, and I knew that at some point it was going to happen for him. So right before puck drop in game 4, I put together the two predictions. I said, all right, Capo Caco scoring the first goal for the Rangers, and Artemi Panarin is getting the game-winning, series-winning goal tonight. I'm calling it. Less than a minute in, Caco already has the first goal, and Colin Stevenson tweets me, bruh, and everyone's like tweeting the eye emoji. Everyone's like going crazy, like, and I'm like, I still have another pick here. Like this game's not over yet, and it wasn't me like trying to like say like, oh, I hope the Capitals score here so that Panarin could get the next goal and have it be the winner. Or when Trocheck scored, oh, I hope the Capitals tie it up here so Panarin could get the third goal and have it be the overtime winner or be the game winner. It wasn't any of that. I was just just normal watching the game. Like I hope the Rangers win this. I don't care who scores. If Panarin does it, so be it. I was happy that Kako scored. Obviously, I was happy that I correctly predicted it. But then the Rangers get that power play in the third period, and they really needed a goal. They had a lackluster second period. Like the effort wasn't good enough. Um, and the motivation is to wrap the series up so you get a week of rest at least, so that you be well prepared against most likely Carolina, who was up 3-1 in that point on last Sunday. Um, so when they get that power play and Panarin swings across the net, behind the net, and shoots that puck and it goes in, it's just, oh my God. Oh my God. And people are already tweeting me like, oh my gosh, he got it right. He got it right. I'm like, dude, there's 15 minutes left in this game. I am not saying anything. I am staying off my phone. I'm not tweeting anything. I thought about doing like the emoji. I stayed away from that. I was just like, no, let's stop. Get off the phone. Get off the phone. Let's watch this game. Let's close it out here. Let's play some good defense. Maybe get another goal here. Roslovic gets the empty netter, and I'm like, it's still not over. My mom is like, Joe, there's 5 seconds left. It's over. And then they had like they had the puck at the side of the net in the last 30 seconds. The Capitals did. And I'm like freaking out. My dad's like, Joe, the game's over. There's 20 seconds. They can't come back. And even them, my parents are like, it's not over till it's over. And they were telling me it's over. Then when that final buzzer hit, I was just like, oh my gosh. Not only did we sweep them, but I got the picks right, man. I got the picks right. And I had so many people saying, like, what are the lottery numbers? Are you from the future? How did you get this? Is this real? Are you a time traveler? And it was just, I mean, I don't know. It was just like when you bet stuff, it's just like you go with your gut. But this was just like, I guess I'll classify it as a really good gut feeling for both Kako and Panarin. A really good gut feeling that Kako would score the first goal and Panarin would get the game-winning goal. Whatever goal it would be the game winner. I just had a good feeling. And so I let it fly. Let the ice cold take fly. And so that's a tip for you guys at home. Go with your gut. And if it's wrong, so be it. But if it's right, we'll acknowledge it. I'll say I was calling people out. I was saying people had some ice cold takes. I saw someone said if like if we didn't have Tom Wilson, Matt Rempe wouldn't be a thing because Rempe would have never seen this version of Matt Rempe wouldn't have been a thing because he used to watch highlight reels to hype himself up of Tom Wilson before he played hockey games. So if Tom Wilson didn't exist, Matt Rempe, this version of Matt Rempe wouldn't exist. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's a very good point. I thought that was an ice cold take. I really appreciated that. I thought that was good. Moving on to the second round series, I don't think some of these analysts have ice cold takes. It's like pretty quickly, as soon as the game was over, game 4 against the Capitals, the odds makers for DraftKings are already putting the Hurricanes as the favorites. The Rangers are the underdogs, even though the Rangers won the President's Trophy, won the Metropolitan Division, beat the Hurricanes 2 years ago. I don't know, it's just I don't really care too much about what the analysts say, what the odds say. If the odds are saying that the Rangers are the underdogs, so be it. Buy into that "why not us" narrative. I don't have a problem with that. I really don't. The analysts seem to be mostly in favor of the Hurricanes, definitely the Athletic, but I think the series could go either way. Let all the analysts talk their talk, think about how good it's going to feel how it will feel if the Rangers pull it off and prove them wrong. The taller the mountain, the sweeter the victory here. You know, everyone's expecting the Hurricanes to come out on top, but then the Rangers come out of nowhere and beat them. It's not going to be a 4 or 5 game series. This is going 6 or 7. So, Rangers fans, buckle up, get your heart rates in control because this is going to be a battle. It's going to be a war between these two teams, the two best teams in the Metropolitan Division, two of the 3 best teams in the Eastern Conference, in my opinion. But like I said, yeah, the taller the mountain, the sweeter the victory. I'm not worried about people that are adamant about picking the Hurricanes, or even if there are people picking the Rangers over the Hurricanes winning this series, because both teams truly have a shot at winning it all. Think about it. This is a matchup of the last 2 Metropolitan finalists for the Eastern Conference, right? So last season, the Hurricanes made it to the conference finals. They got swept by the Panthers. And then 2 seasons ago, the Rangers made it to the conference finals after they beat Carolina to get there, and they lost to the Lightning in the conference finals in 6 games, right? So this is just a matchup of the last 2 teams to make it to the conference finals from the Metropolitan Division based on how the brackets work out. So both teams, in my opinion, are near the top of the mountain. Speaking of mountains, as I like to do, I'm going to make a good analogy here. Both teams are near the top of the mountain, and that top of Mount Everest, is the Florida Panthers. But this series is just the last hump for both teams to make it, to get over, so that they could get to the top. If you think about it that way, the Rangers and the Hurricanes are fighting to get to the Panthers. I'm picking the Bruins to win in Game 7 against the Maple Leafs, and they're not going to win against the Panthers. The Panthers are going to win that series. I'd be very surprised if the Bruins come away with that series, or the Maple Leafs. Let's say Toronto comes away and beats Boston, comes back from 3-1 down. Second year, Boston blows the lead. I don't see Toronto or Boston beating Florida and making it to the third round. I can't see it. So for me, the top of the mountain is the Panthers, and I love how I'm saying that when Vegas won the cup and they're in Game 7, they're still in the playoffs. But this is a fight to get to the top of the mountain, and after that, it's a fight to see who will get over the other side of the mountain. So this is like we're at the end here. We're in the end game, as Doctor Strange likes to say. We are nearing the end of the season. There's just a couple more hurdles to overcome for both teams. And if you think like the Hurricanes are going to stop and like not overcome it or be shy about doing it, you got another thing coming. Same thing with the Rangers, because both of these teams are hungry. The Hurricanes have been pressing with Brind'Amour for the last few seasons. They've put together great rosters. They went for it all with Gensel. I don't know if they're going to extend him, but he's been a great performer for them. They're going for it all again. The Rangers won a President's Trophy. It's 3 consecutive seasons with 50 wins, I believe, for the Rangers. Both teams are swinging for the fences. This is going to be a great series. It's going to come down to like the matchups and the home ice. I think the Rangers, the home ice is going to be a huge, huge deal. If you go back to that series 2 years ago, I know Peter Laviolette basically just threw out the tape and is not talking at all about 2 years ago. The players, he doesn't want the players to think about what happened 2 years ago and like, oh, we beat him then, we could beat him now. He doesn't want them to think that way, and I like that. I like that approach from Laviolette. But if you remember from that series, Carolina struggled mightily on the road in that playoffs. They won like maybe 1 or 2 games that entire playoff run, and the home team split the first 6 games of that series, Rangers, Hurricanes, and then the Rangers won on the road in game 7. The matchups are gonna be, critical. I know in that Washington series, Laviolette didn't really care too much about the matchups because he felt very confident and comfortable with all of his lines, all of his defensive pairs, that he could throw any line out there and match up against anyone, whether it be Ovi or Strome or Wilson or Oshie or their fourth line with Dowd or any of those guys that they could match up well. And you're not gonna it's not gonna be that simple against Carolina because they have 4 terrific deep lines. Like they got Aho, they've got Jarvis, who's coming to his own. That guy's a 30-goal scorer. He the biggest difference between this year and last year, besides Gensel, is Jarvis has been very good for Carolina. He's going to be an important player for them in this series. The Rangers are going to have to keep a good eye on him. I think last year Svechnikov got hurt in the playoffs, so having him healthy will be very important for them moving forward. But the Rangers and Laviolette need to get the right matchups in. I don't know how those matchups are going to be, whether that you want to put Zibanejad against the Stahl line, or if you want to put Zibanejad against the Aho line, or where you're going to put the French toast line, how you're going to use the third line. I don't know how you're going to deploy that, and then the defensive pairs. How are you going to use Miller Schneider? Who are you going to use them against? Are you going to put out Fox Lindgren against all the Simons? Are you going to put Trouba out there against the Stahl line? That's going to be huge. The Canes lost all their road games in 2022. I didn't know that. I thought they won one. But they haven't been a good road playoff team. They did win. I think they won 2 out of. No, they won 1 of 2. 1 of 2 against the Islanders. So 1-1 on the road this playoff run here for the Hurricanes. Last season, I don't know what it was, but I don't think they won too many road games. I know that series against the Islanders went 6. And then I think against the Devils, they also went 6. I'm not entirely sure. I don't remember. But the road has been a tough hurdle to overcome for Carolina. That's what I'm looking at as what could play into the Rangers' favor. It's home ice, and it's good they have it throughout the playoffs. So games 1 and 2. Game 1 starting Sunday at 4 o'clock, which is tomorrow. We don't know when the rest of the series will be. I don't know how they're going to space out the games. I would imagine that it's going to be every other day. But home ice is going to be huge. Special teams going to be huge. Discipline is going to be a key factor for the Rangers. They have got to stay out of the box. This is a special teams. You could almost like neutralize between the Rangers and the Hurricanes. And I think this is why it scares a lot of people, because the Rangers aren't the greatest 5-on-5. They're middle of the pack. And Carolina, all their numbers say that they're top of the league for the past few seasons. It's just the style of play that they get. I also saw a lot of people saying that Carolina just gets a lot of low percentage chances. And if that's true, that works in the Rangers' favor, because the Rangers like to give up a lot of low percentage chances and force stuff to the outside. But discipline is going to be critical here. If the Rangers take penalties, that penalty kill that they possessed, that they demonstrated against Washington, has got to come out and be not just as good, but it's got to be even better, because there were times where they lapsed a little bit and they let up a couple power play goals here and there to the Capitals. I know in game 2 they let in 2. But the penalty kill has to be strong. They have to be disciplined. Both teams, actually. The Hurricanes don't want to be taking any penalties. The Rangers, same thing, don't want to be taking any penalties. I think the Hurricanes' power play was ranked higher than the Rangers. The only team that had as good power play and penalty kill as the Rangers did in both categories this season was the Hurricanes. I think the Rangers were third in both penalty kill and power play. The Hurricanes were like first in the penalty kill and second in the power play. I think Mercogliano was talking about that on his podcast this week. So something to keep an eye on in this series. Will Heedle come back in the lineup? I'm very surprised they haven't activated him yet because I think that game one would be the perfect place to suit up Heedle and see how he does in a playoff setting in his first game back since the supposed concussion. Um, I don't know how comfortable I'd feel putting him in like a game 4 or game 5 or like an elimination game, throwing him out there for his first game. That kind of just like feels like you're throwing up a hope and a prayer. But I mean, he's been practicing for the past 3 weeks, I think 3-4 weeks. It feels like so. I'm surprised that he hasn't been activated. But once he gets activated, he's going into the lineup for sure. Absolutely. Just like what the Golden Knights did with Mark Stone. When they activated him, they immediately put him in the lineup. Knew it was coming. Um, but maybe they don't feel too comfortable yet with Heedle in there. Maybe they're going to try Brodzinski. Does Rempe come out of the lineup? Maybe you put Brodzinski in there to add an element of speed to that fourth line. And to, like I said, stay disciplined so that Rempe's not taking any stupid penalties or weak roughing calls, or if don't give the officials any reason to call penalty on you. 5-on-5 play for the Rangers, it needs to get just a little bit better once again, and that's just to keep up with the Hurricanes. That's just to neutralize it. If they can play solid defense like they did, if you go back to that game in November, way back in November when Heedle and Fox both got hurt at Madison Square Garden against the Hurricanes, defense was one of the Rangers' strengths. It was one of the best in the league at that point. They were very good at defending chances in the defensive zone. I think the slot passes, they were like second in the league at that point. They didn't allow too many, and that game was just like a wash. Neither team could get anything going. Their defenses just pretty much canceled out their offenses. So it took until like a Cooley goal in the third period to win him the game. It was going to come down to an even strength goal. But if they could play defense just like that, dial it up a little bit more since it's the playoffs, limit the slot chances and other quality looks, that's going to be huge. Then you could look at that. All right, the Rangers got an edge in this series. That game, though, that November game, I remember both teams had power play goals. That's how they started the scoring. The Rangers got the power play goal first. I think it was Panarin to Trocheck, and they scored first. And then Jarvis got the goal on the power play off the rush for Carolina. And then the teams remained scoreless until the third period when Cooley scored the game-winning goal, and it was a 2-1 final game. That's how the games are going to be. That's my prediction. You might have a game or two here and there where it's just like, it's like a 5-4 or 4-3 game. But I'm predicting like 2-1, 3-2 finishes for most of these games. Maybe a 3-1 with an empty netter or 2-0. God forbid the Rangers get shut out by Frederick Anderson, who's been playing really solid. If he stays healthy, which he has in the playoffs so far this year, that's something the Rangers are going to have to solve. But Shesterkin, I have the utmost confidence in him. He's played really well in the playoffs thus far in his career. No reason to think he can't do it again in this series. But the defense and the even strength offense have to step it up, take it to another level here. Doesn't have to be outright dominant, but it's got to be up to par with how the Hurricanes play. Otherwise, it's going to be a very difficult series to win because I'm expecting Carolina to stay disciplined, and special teams might not play as much of a factor as some of us imagine if the teams are disciplined and stay out of the box. It's going to be physical. It's going to be long, tough war of attrition between both teams, but it's going to be exciting. I can't wait for game one tomorrow. Like I said, the Rangers have home ice, so that'll be huge. Garden's going to be rocking. I don't know how many, when the Rangers hit the road, I don't know how many fans are going to be able to make it to Carolina or be able to get tickets to go to the game because they limit who's able to go and attend that game to North Carolina residents in that area. There's a couple other states in there. I think North Carolina, South Carolina, and like Virginia are the only people that could buy tickets for that game in Carolina. So I don't know if Rangerstown could travel south and make it Madison Square Garden too at the PNC Arena. But again, home ice going to be huge because of the matchups. And now to the end here. Um, Instead of doing the ice cold take segment, and based on what I've been doing on Twitter the past 23 days now, it's time for the freezing point. Yeah, it's time for the freezing point here because Brian Boyle's got the boiling point. I've been trying now 23 days to get Boyle on the podcast. So this is my pitch to him. All right. So Brian Boyle is like the best. He was part of the best fourth line the Rangers have ever had. I'll say it flat out. The best fourth line I've ever watched was Moore, Boyle, Derek Dorsett. That was a fantastic line. And now the guy, it's kind of come full circle for him. He went from first round pick to fourth line player, to media guy. Now he's on the podcast with Molly Walker. The guy could do it all. He's on NHL Network. He's on MSG Networks. He does it all now. Rangers fans, like, he played on the Lightning, played against us in the conference finals the year after he left with Callahan, with Stralman. Then he went to the Devils. He went to the Predators. He played with Toronto. He played with a lot of teams after that. But still, to this day, the love and support Rangers fan base has for Brian Boyle, I mean, it's like next to none. We need to get him on the podcast. Brian, if you're listening to this, I mean, all you have to do is ask Molly who I am, and she'll tell you, like, she'll tell you to go on the show here. Like, I'm not some nobody. I'm not like that podcast crazy lady that's not well behaved and spews random nonsense on Twitter. I'll ask good questions, man. Like, this will be a good interview. You could ask Johnny Laz. I know how much you like that guy. I know I listened to Morning Cup of Hockey when you went on there, and Boyle, like, he was talking about how difficult it was for media guys. He gave so much credit to media guys for being able to ask questions and come up with stuff on the spot, and he had trouble doing it. I firmly believe that Boyle should be doing like that Pierre Maguire style, like Ray Ferraro thing for MSG Networks and be in between the benches. Like, the commentary is just next level. It's so cool to have that. I loved having it on the national telecast, but to have it on your local telecast for all of your Rangers games, like, man, that would be awesome. I would love to ask Boyle about that. Brian Boyle, that's my pitch for you. I hope you come on the show. Day 23 of the boiling point, I guess you could call. Brian, just come on the show. Just come on the show. Your inbox is probably flooded with mentions and ats from all these Rangers fans that you've never seen before. Come on, Ice Cold Takes. Ask Molly about me. I'm a good guy. I'm fine. I'm not gonna throw you a low blow question. You could trust me. But yeah, there's the freezing point. I don't really have an ice cold take for this week. I'll just say the Rangers are gonna take game one. Game one is gonna go to the Rangers. I don't know what the score is going to be. 3-1. Rangers win 3-1. Game one at the Garden tomorrow. But yeah, that's it for me. I don't have anything else to add on here. This was a good episode. I hope everybody enjoyed. Keep your heart rates in check. Make sure you guys drink a lot of water because this series is going to be a long one. It's going to be stress-inducing. Going to be back to normal Rangers playoff hockey where our heart rate is way up here. Heart is beating out of our chest, holding our breath, biting our nails. And whatever superstitions that you were working on, like anything that worked, you have to keep doing them. Wear the same shirt, wear the same clothes, sit in the same spot, hold the remote the same way, drink the same drink, eat the same food, keep it all the same. If something is working, keep it that way. If someone walks into the room and the Rangers score, that person's got to stay in the room. They cannot leave the house until the period is over, at the very least. So let's go, Rangers. Let's get that game one victory, and we'll see you guys next week.